Hello friends, greetings to you all once again. Today we are so privileged to have our friend Mr. Agam Sashe, who is from Dimapur, and he is going to deliver the message. So I want all of you to listen to the message, and yes, let us all have a pleasant time together.
Hello friends, I'm from Dimapur. I thank God for this opportunity and also want to thank our youth pastor, Shillong Ao Baptist Church, for giving me this wonderful privilege to share the Word of God. Friends, there is a movie name called Dead Man Walking, which was released in the year 1995 in America and won Oscar Award. One very interesting about this movie is that this movie is based on a real story of Sister Helen Pridgeon, who was a Catholic nun and a chaplain, and a man who was in prison named Patrick Sonnier, who became a prisoner for rape and murder case of two young lovers in Lausanne. So it was their law that Patrick Sonnier was sentenced for capital punishment for his act, who was sentenced to die in Lausanne state prison. So whoever sentenced for capital punishment, they were kept in a separate prison cell and called them a dead man walking. And whenever this person walked in the cell, their inmates, they used to shout and tell that person dead man walking, because dead man walking means who is certain to face punishment for death, someone who is certain and soon to die. The person may be physically alive but certain to die soon without compromise for the choice and the act he or she has done. So, what I want to bring out from this story is that even if we have all those highest degrees and all the knowledge of the world, wealth and riches in our life, but if our choice leads us to spiritual death, then we are no different with Patrick Sonnier. We are all dead men and women walking in the eyes of God. Even though we are physically alive but spiritually dead, then we are certain that we are going to face the judgment of God one day. Because the Bible is very clear that 2 Peter chapter 2:4 says that, "For if God did not spare angels when they sinned, but sent them to hell, putting them in chains of darkness to be held for judgment." Again in the book of Ecclesiastes 12:14 says that, "For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden things, whether it is good and evil." John chapter 12 verse 48 says that, "There is a judge for the one who rejects me and does not accept my words. The very words I have spoken will condemn them at the last day." So keeping this in our mind, I want to share on the topic, the power of choice. The power of choice, basing on the text, Judges chapter 16 verse 18 to 20. Verse 18, when Delilah saw that he had told her everything, she sent word to the rulers of the Philistines, "Come back once more. He has told me everything." So the rulers of the Philistines returned with the silver in their hands, having put him to sleep on her lap. She called a man to shave off the 7 braids of his hair, and so began to subdue him, and his strength left him. Then she called, "Samson, the Philistines are upon you." He awoke from his sleep and thought, "I will go out as before and shake myself free." But he did not know that the Lord had left him. When we look at this passage, we find the life of Samson. And when we talk about Samson, the first thing comes in our mind is that he is a man of incredible physical strength. Samson was God's instrument to rescue Israel from the enemy Philistines during the era of Judges in the Old Testament. So in order to understand Samson's time, we must understand the time of Judges in Israel. So when we look at the history of Israelites, God chose Israel. So God brought the Israel people out of slavery from Egypt and placed them in the promised land, that is Canaan. So God expected Israel to live like Him because God is holy, His people should also live holy. But Israelites failed and they choose to live which is opposite according to God's will. So God punished His people for their sin. So God raised up the people to oppress them for their sin. And the Israelite people cried to God for help, and God raised up judge or deliverer to save them. So Israel has been through this cycle time and time again. In Samson's time, again Israel chose to live which is opposite according to God's will, and God let the Philistines rule over the Israel and oppress them for 40 years. But God decides to deliver them, and He chose to do with Samson. So Samson was God's chosen one for God's divine purpose. He was a Nazarite. When we say Nazarite, it means that to be separated for God's purpose means he or she is a very special one. So Samson was God's special chosen one to liberate Israelites. Choices you and I make are a gift of God. God has given every human being the ability to make the decision of his or her own so that it will affect our life. The power to choose is very great. It is to decide which way to go, what to eat, what not to eat, what to drink, what not to drink, and what to wear, what not to wear, what to speak and what not to speak. And exactly when we look at the life of Samson, though Samson was Nazareth, his downfall in life was when he chose to listen to his sensuality. And the sad thing is that his sensuality deceived Samson. When Samson revealed the secret of his strength to Delilah for his lust and pleasure, the God leaves Samson and he doesn't know that God leaves him. Because the Bible is very clear that in 1 Peter chapter 1 verse 15 and 16 says that just as he who called you is holy, so be holy in all you do, for it is written, be holy because I'm holy. Here it means to say that we cannot be a two person at the same time. We cannot be a holy as well as unholy at the same time, because we are only one person with one life, one soul. So when there is a choice in our life, how do we choose is very important, my friends. Our choice will determine our life to bring us closer to God or lead us further away from God. When Samson chose to listen to his sensuality, it becomes one of the most tragic stories in the Bible. Samson was once God's chosen ones, God's instrument to liberate the Israelites, but he becomes a mockery at the hands of his enemies. The way we choose to live every day is at our hands. God has given that freedom to everyone without any caste, color, or gender. It is our choice how we live it. Each day as we live our life, even in times of pandemic, I'm sure God has blessed us in so many ways, and we have lots of things to testify about God's love and His blessing in our life. But my question is, how do we choose to live out our life? Is it the choice we make brings our life more closer to God or lead us further away from God? Or is it our choice makes us like a Samson, where people will mock at us for the lifestyle we live in this generation as a children of God? When I was in college days, I came across a story about a young girl who gave beautifully reply to her mother about the power of choice. One day, a mother and her daughter went to the market, and as they went, they passed a candy store, and her daughter insisted her mother to buy a candy for her. So her mother gave a one penny to her daughter to go and buy a candy for herself. But her daughter take much time to buy that one candy in the store. So her mother lost her patience and went inside the candy store and asked her daughter why she took much time to buy one candy. Then her daughter replied beautifully. She said to her mother, "Mom, if you have given me 2 pennies, it will be easier for me to buy out of so many candy in the store. But you have given me only 1 penny, so I have to choose the right one. I have to spend this 1 penny for which I like the most." Friends, exactly like this young girl, God has given us only one life to live on this earth. And this one life is very important. How we live, how we spend is very important to fulfill God's purpose in our life. Every day as we live, we have lots of choices in our life. Friends, make sure the choice we make will lead us more closer to God every day we live. So let us ask God the discerning power to choose the right choice as we live in this generation. Let us live this one life meaningfully and for God's purpose. Thank you so much. God bless us all.